In the 1001 Nights that Scheherazade told stories to her Sultan, many, many strange and wonderful tales were unfolded. But none was any more wonderful than the story of Aladdin and his lamp. Once upon a time, in faraway Africa, there lived an evil magician. In an ancient book which he had stolen from the king's library, he discovered a story of a magical lamp which could bring the owner all the riches in the world. The book gave clues as to how to reach the place where the lamp was hidden. But the book also cautioned that to possess the lamp, it must not be taken directly, but must be handed over by another person. So the magician went to the city in China where the lamp was hidden and began looking for some unsuspecting person to help him get the wonderful lamp. After a while, he came upon a group of boys playing in the streets and was immediately taken by the appearance of the boy who seemed to be the leader. Making inquiries about him, he discovered that his name was Aladdin and that his father, Mustafa the tailor, had died some years ago.
Child, was not your father called Mustafa the tailor?
Yes, sir, but he's been dead a long time.
I am your uncle. Your worthy father was my own brother. You look so much like him that I knew you at first sight. Go, my son, to your mother, give her my love, and tell her that I will visit her tomorrow.
So Aladdin ran home to his mother to tell her the good news.
Mother? Mother? Have I an uncle?
No, Aladdin. You have no uncle, on either your father's side or mine.
But I just met a man who says he's my uncle, my father's brother. He told me to give you his love and to say that he'll come to see you tomorrow.
The next day, Aladdin's mother prepared a bounteous supper, and in the evening the magician came to the house with gifts of wine and fruit for dessert.
My dear sister, will you show me the place where my brother Mustafa used to sit on the sofa?
Will you sit down in the same place?
Oh, no, I shall not do that, but let me sit opposite. For if I may not see the master of a family so dear to me, I may at least have the pleasure of looking at the place where he used to sit.
You don't look like my father, sir.
No, we were very dissimilar in life. Do not be surprised at your never having seen me before. I have been 40 years away from this country and have travelled in the Indies, Persia, Arabia, Syria and Egypt, and afterwards crossed over into Africa, where I make my home.
I miss my husband greatly.
But you have a fine son in Aladdin, and he certainly looks like your husband.
Yes, but Aladdin is an idle boy. His father, when alive, tried to teach him to become a tailor, but with no success. Since his death, our son idles away his time in the streets where you found him.
This is not right, Aladdin. You must think of helping yourself in getting your livelihood. There are many sorts of trades. If you have a choice, I will try to help you. Or perhaps you would like to be a shopkeeper. If so, I will take a shop for you. Tell me what you think of my plans.
Well, I'd much rather be a shopkeeper than a tradesman.
Very well. I will take you with me tomorrow, buy you some fine new clothes, and we will open a shop.
The next day, as promised, the African magician took Aladdin with him to a fine clothing store where Aladdin was permitted to choose whatever he preferred. The clothing was very expensive, but the magician paid for it immediately. Then the magician took Aladdin and showed him the largest and finest mosques and palaces in the city. When night came, Aladdin said he thought he must go home, but the magician wouldn't let him go by himself. The next morning, the magician took Aladdin out again, telling him that he would show him the palaces along the country road. They were magnificent buildings with beautiful gardens into which everybody could go. Each palace they came to seemed finer than the one before, and before Aladdin knew what was happening, the magician had led him far from the city and out into the country. Finally, they reached the mountains with a narrow valley between two peaks. This was the place that the magician had read about in the ancient book, and the magic lamp was hidden close by.
We will go no further now. I will show you some marvelous things which you will thank me to have seen. Gather up all the loose, dry sticks you can find so we can build a fire. Now you will see something no one else has seen. Abracadabra! Abracadabra! Open earth!
I'm frightened. Let's get out of here.
Don't try to run away. I need your help. You see this stone with a brass ring in the middle which has just appeared out of the ground?
I see it.
Know then that under this stone there is hidden a treasure which will make you richer than the greatest monarch in the world. No one but you is permitted to lift this stone or to enter the cave underneath. You must do exactly what I command.
Well, Uncle, what do you want me to do?
Take hold of the ring and lift up that stone.
But I'm not strong enough.
I cannot help you. Take hold of the ring and pronounce the name of your father. Then lift it up, and you will find that it will come easily.
Mustafa! Mustafa!
Descend into the cave, and you will find 3 large halls. Go through the first, second, and third halls without stopping. At the end of the third hall, you will find a door which opens into a garden planted with fine trees. Walk across the garden to the terrace, where you will see a lighted lamp in a niche. Take the lamp and extinguish it. Throw away the wick and the oil and bring the lamp to me. Put this ring of mine on your finger. It will protect you. Now go down boldly, and we shall both be rich all our lives.
Aladdin descended into the cave and found the 3 halls just as they had been described to him. As he came out into the garden, he looked at the trees, which were loaded with extraordinary fruit of different colors. But as he looked more closely, he saw that they were not fruit at all, but instead were pearls, diamonds, amethysts, emeralds, turquoise, and sapphires. He gathered as many of the jewels as he could carry. Then he carefully picked up the lamp, blew out the flame, and threw away the wick and the oil as he had been instructed. Then, walking carefully, he made his way back to the entrance to the cave.
Uncle! Uncle, please give me your hand to help me out.
Give me the lamp first.
I can't, but I will as soon as I'm up.
Give it to me immediately.
But I can't with all these jewels.
Put the jewels down. I must have the lamp from your hand.
I can't.
You miserable wretch! I'll seal you up in this cave forever. Abracadabra! Abracadabra! Close earth!
Let me out, Uncle. Oh, let me out!
The magician realized that he would never get the lamp from the hand of Aladdin, so decided to go back to Africa, leaving Aladdin to die in the cave.
Help me! Help me, Uncle! Let me out! Don't leave me here to die! Oh, if only there was some light. It's so dark in here. I wonder about this ring that the magician put on my finger. I can feel it, but I can't see it. I'll try and take it off.
What wouldst thou have? I am ready to obey thee as thy slave, and the slave of all who may possess the ring on thy finger.
Can you get me out of here?
The giant genie had tremendous strength, and in a twinkling Aladdin found himself outside on the very spot where the magician had caused the earth to open. The genie disappeared as quickly as he had appeared. Aladdin wearily made his way to his home, and once there begged his mother for a bite of food, for he was very hungry.
I haven't a bit of bread to give you, but I have a little cotton. I will go and sell it, buy bread and something else for our dinner.
Oh, Mother, keep your cotton for another time. I'll sell this lamp that I found in the cave, and with the money that I get for it, we'll have enough for breakfast, dinner, and maybe supper, too.
This lamp is very dirty. If it were cleaner, I think you might get more for it. I'm going to clean it up.
What wouldst thou have? I am ready to obey thee as thy slave, and the slave of all those who have that lamp in their hands.
Mother, don't be afraid. Give me the lamp. I am hungry. Bring me something to eat.
The genie returned in an instant with a large silver tray holding 12 covered dishes of the same metal, which contained the most delicious foods. All this he placed upon the table and disappeared. Aladdin's mother had fainted at the sight of the genie, so Aladdin ran for some water, sprinkled it on her face, and she soon recovered.
What happened? Where did that terrible giant go? Where did all this food come from?
Mother, that was the genie of the lamp. He's like the genie of the ring who rescued me from the cave.
But why did that monstrous person address himself to me?
Because you were holding the lamp.
If you will take my advice, you will have nothing more to do with genies or lamps.
The wicked magician who tricked me into the cave would not have done so unless he realized the value of this wonderful lamp. Since chance has given it to us, we will use it without making any great show, so as not to excite the envy and jealousy of our neighbors. However, since the genie frightened you so much, I'll take the lamp out of your sight and only call upon the genie of the lamp when you're not present.
When Aladdin and his mother had eaten all the food that the genie had brought, Aladdin sold the silver dishes one by one to buy more food, and thus they were able to live comfortably for quite a time. One day, as Aladdin was walking about the town, he heard an order proclaimed commanding the people to shut up their shops and houses and keep indoors, while the princess Buddir al-Budur, the Sultan's daughter, went to the baths and returned. Aladdin was terribly curious to see the princess's face, so he hid himself near the doorway to the baths. Presently, the princess came, attended by a great crowd of ladies and slaves. When she took off her veil, it was love at first sight for Aladdin, for she was the most beautiful girl in the world. When he returned home, he was very quiet and melancholy.
What's the matter with you, Aladdin? Do you feel ill?
No, Mother. I've just seen the Princess Buddir al-Budur, and I've fallen in love with her. I want to marry her.
The daughter of the Sultan? You must be mad.
I'm in my right senses, Mother. I'm resolved to ask the Sultan for her hand in marriage. As a gift to the Sultan, I shall use the fine jewels which I brought from the cave. Will you place them in a porcelain dish and take them to the Sultan with my plea?
I think it's foolish, but I'll do it for you.
So Aladdin's mother took the jewels and went to the Sultan's palace. When she came to the gates, the Grand Vizier and the most distinguished lords of the court had just gone in. She followed them and placed herself just before the Sultan, who was sitting in council. It was like a courtroom, and after several cases were heard, the Sultan and the Grand Vizier arose and left the room without noticing Aladdin's mother. So she went home, resolved to return again the following day. For 6 days Aladdin's mother came to the court, and for 6 days she was not noticed nor recognized. On the 7th, however, it was different, as the Sultan spoke in whispers to the Grand Vizier.
Do you see that woman with the porcelain dish full of jewels?
Yes, Master. She has been here before.
Yes, I know that. She has been here 7 days.
But I don't think you should recognize her, Master. She's up to no good.
You are always so suspicious. You think evil of everyone. I am going to recognize her. Good woman, you have been here many times before. What business brings you here?
Monarch of monarchs, please pardon the boldness of my request, and assure me first of your pardon and forgiveness.
Well, I will forgive you, be it what it may, and no hurt shall come to you. Speak out.
My son, Aladdin, wishes the hand of the Princess Budda al-Budur in marriage.
But this is ridiculous. That's the silliest thing I've ever heard of. A poor woman and an impoverished son asking the hand of the princess in marriage?
Are those jewels you have in the dish you hold?
Yes, master, and they are for you.
They are magnificent. Vizier, have you ever seen jewels so rich and beautiful?
They're very pretty.
Are not these gifts worthy of the princess, my daughter?
They're very nice, but I beg of your majesty to grant me 3 months before you come to a decision. I hope before that time that my son will be able to make a nobler present than Aladdin, who is a complete stranger to your majesty.
That seems fair. Good woman, go home and tell your son that I agree to the proposal you have made, but the princess cannot marry for the next 3 months. When that time is up, come again to our court.
Aladdin was very happy when his mother told him the news, and the 3 months passed quickly. So again Aladdin's mother went before the Sultan in his court.
Sire, I have come as you directed at the end of the 3 months to plead for my son, and I hope that you will grant the hand of your daughter, the princess, in marriage.
My son's not yet returned from the trip he undertook to find riches and present his gifts to you for the hand of your daughter.
I feel I must honor my pledge to this woman.
Oh, please give me more time, Master. Give some impossible conditions to this woman.
Good woman, I am almost ready to keep my word to you by making your son happy in marriage with my daughter. But I need some further valuable consideration from your son. I will fulfill my promise as soon as he shall bring to me 40 trays of massive gold, full of the same sort of jewels you have already presented to me, and carried by 20 handsome slaves, all dressed magnificently.
I doubt, master, that he can do this, but I will give him your message.
Aladdin's mother then went home, never believing that Aladdin could secure all the riches that the Sultan demanded. But she'd forgotten about the genie of the lamp. When she reached home, she told Aladdin of the Sultan's demands, and Aladdin promptly went to his room, got out the wonderful lamp, rubbed it, and the genie appeared. Aladdin told the genie of the Sultan's demands, and in a twinkling the genie had returned with all of the riches and all the slaves that the Sultan had asked. So Aladdin's mother went once more to the palace, leading a magnificent procession of slaves and soldiers bearing precious stones and gold, as the Sultan had requested. When she reached the palace, she advanced to the foot of the throne and bowed low.
Sire, my son feels that this present is much below the Princess Budda al-Budur's worth, but hopes, nevertheless, that your Majesty will accept it. I believe this gift conforms to all the conditions you were pleased to impose.
I have never seen such grand riches in all my life.
But my son has still not returned from his voyage. I'm sure he'll bring even greater riches. Please wait.
I will not wait. I cannot imagine any greater riches than I see before me, that Aladdin has presented me with. Go and tell your son that I wait with open arms to embrace him. Tell him to come to me immediately and receive the princess, my daughter, from my hands.
He asks that he should not come today, Master. He wishes one more day to prepare a magnificent palace to receive the princess, his bride-to-be.
He can't build a palace in a day.
We will give him the opportunity. Tell your son Aladdin we will receive him tomorrow.
So Aladdin's mother returned again to her home and told her son the good news. Aladdin immediately retired and summoned the genie of the lamp.
Genie, build me a palace fit to receive my wife, the Princess Buddir al-Buddoor. Let it be built of porphyry, jasper, agate, lapis lazuli, and the finest marble of various colours. Instead of bricks, let the walls be formed of layers of massive gold and silver. There must also be an inner and an outer court in front of the palace, and a spacious garden. But above all things, provide and fill an ample treasure house, well supplied with gold and silver.
The next morning, the genie returned and said, "Master, your palace is ready." Then Aladdin asked the genie to provide him with the most magnificent costume ever worn by a monarch. Then the genie provided a horse that surpassed in beauty and goodness the best in the Sultan's stables, 40 richly clothed slaves, 6 women slaves to attend his mother, and 10,000 pieces of gold in 10 purses. In a twinkling it was done, and thus another magnificent procession set out for the Sultan's palace, where the Sultan married Princess Buddir al-Buddoor to Aladdin, and the two then walked on a carpet of velvet which led from the Sultan's palace to Aladdin's new palace for his wife. I should now tell you that they lived happily ever after, and they did, except for one small incident. The news of Aladdin's tremendous wealth traveled all over the world, and finally even reached Africa and the ears of the African magician. When he realized that Aladdin had escaped from the cave and undoubtedly had secured his wealth by the use of the wonderful lamp, he immediately set out for China. When he reached Aladdin's palace, he learned that Aladdin had set out on a hunting expedition, so he put his plan into effect. He purchased a dozen new lamps, put them into a basket, and then set out to Aladdin's palace again. As he drew near, he called out, "Who will change old lamps for new?" This was such a bargain that he immediately was surrounded by a crowd of people. The princess also heard him, and remembering the old lamp in Aladdin's room, asked a servant to get it and exchange it for a new one. As soon as it was night, the magician rubbed the magical lamp, and of course the genie appeared. The magician commanded the genie to transport him, Aladdin's palace, and all the people in it to Africa. So it was done, and when Aladdin returned from his hunting expedition, he found only bare ground where his palace had stood. He immediately set off in search of his bride and his palace. But he'd forgotten the power of the magic ring which he still wore. One day he accidentally rubbed it, and the genie of the ring appeared.
Transport me immediately to the place to which my palace has been removed.
No sooner had he said the words than Aladdin found himself in Africa, beside his own palace, under the princess's window. He entered the palace and, seizing the magician, struck home a mortal blow. So Aladdin was able to recover the wonderful lamp, and soon his bride and his palace and all the people in it were transported back to China, to the same spot where the palace had first been, and there they did live happily ever after.